Remember the story about poisonous snacks? The story where black South African children were dying after eating snacks that they bought from Spaza shops? The story was everywhere. It dominated headlines, it sparked outrage, and ultimately it forced government to take action. But then it feels like it's been silent ever since then. Did we just stop paying attention, or did the story simply disappear? This is RSA Explained. Today, we will retrace the timeline of a tragedy that claimed dozens of young lives and ask, is the danger really gone, or are the snacks still lurking in the shadows? I'm not gonna lie, fellow South Africans, I'm a little bit worried.
2 children aged 7 and 10 are believed to have died yesterday after allegedly consuming snacks purchased from a local Spaza shop in Mamelodi.
Passed away on Saturday, while 4-year-old Tabiso Mzima died on Sunday.
Found a red poison in our children's system. My son was lying there helplessly, together with that child.
So, as far as we know, reports trace it back to around 2022. It began quietly in one of the townships in Gauteng. About 4 children collapsed after eating these snacks from a local Spaza shop, and they were rushed to the hospitals, the clinics, and the healthcare professionals could not explain the sudden poisoning. So at that point, families buried their children without answers. Very few communities outside of those even noticed. It was treated as a local tragedy and not quite a warning of what was to come at a national level. By around March 2023, unfortunately, the pattern repeated itself in the Northwest Province. 8 more children died. They experienced the same symptoms. They were vomiting, had seizures, and would suddenly collapse. They too had consumed snacks that they bought from one of the local Spaza shops. At this point, there was still silence from those in power. Very few media outlets talking about it. It was mostly on social media, no urgent investigations, and at this point it was starting to feel, at least on social media, like the lives of poor South African children do not matter. Then came November 2023. 10 children in a single community in Soweto died. This time, the outrage spilled into the headlines. Journalists arrived, cameras rolled, and for a moment, the nation paid attention. Parents were demanding accountability, and activists were in the streets marching. Despite the outcry from affected communities, there was still no word from the officials, from the government. By 2024, however, the crisis became undeniable. From Gauteng to KZN, Limpopo to Mpumalanga, reports of poisoned children multiplied. 21 deaths in less than a year. Hospitals were recording hundreds of foodborne illnesses, potentially linked to snacks sold in Spaza shops. It was no longer a local, isolated incident. It was now a national issue, and the government could no longer ignore it.
To get hazardous pesticides off the street, we now have directed that the Spaza shops, which have been implicated in the deaths of children, must be closed with immediate effect.
On the 15th of November 2024, President Cyril Ramaphosa finally addressed the nation from the Union buildings. He acknowledged that it was a tragedy, he vowed action, and he promised that no other parent should endure such loss. For many, it was the first time the crisis was actually acknowledged at the highest level. Following this address, cabinet meetings were called, there were raids on Spaza shops, several other promises made. We saw inspections moving through the townships, shops that sell expired goods being shut down, other shops operating without licenses being shut down. But at this point, the poison had already spread through our communities. Parents were asking, why did it take so long? Why were children allowed to die before action was taken? This was followed by an official investigation, and the outcome was clear. A toxin named turbifos, and often used as a pesticide, was the culprit. Some experts, in fact many experts, suspected that this was deliberate contamination, pointing out that the simultaneous poisonings across wide areas were unlikely to be accidental. Police raids continued. They uncovered warehouses filled with expired goods. They uncovered counterfeit snacks and several banned pesticides. But even as the crackdowns intensified, the tragedies did not stop. Despite the fact that investigators suspected deliberate contamination, no source supplier or manufacturing facility was ever identified. In fact, it was blamed on informal repackaging and township distribution networks, leaving the lines of accountability blurred. Now, this leaves me with a very haunting question. Have the contaminated snacks truly disappeared? Or are children still dying quietly, unreported, somewhere in South Africa?